Hello. Today, and I'm trying is making this video is June 17th, though of course you'll see it on Friday. Um, so which actually means that today, when you're seeing this, when it comes out, it's actually Jaws' 50th anniversary. So happy anniversary to Jaws. Um, I'll be doing some stuff with that anniversary next month because, well, starting on the 4th of July because, well, the first movie of that franchise does take place on Independence Day, at least for a little bit. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today, obviously. What I'm going to talk about is the fact that I saw The Empire Strikes Back today. I'm recording this video. In the theater, and that was a fun experience. I would say, with the shirt and the hat, I had my appropriate attire, I felt. However, when I went there, there are a lot of people who wore Star Wars shirts and things of that nature. But then, of course, there were those who were dressed up. There was somebody who was dressed as as Chewbacca, somebody in full-on Darth Vader attire. The one in the Chewbacca just kind of had like a big thing, like a kind of like a hoodie or thing, like a onesie of sorts, kind of thing, or at least it looked like that. I didn't see the full thing, but at least it had pants if it wasn't like all one thing, and a like Chewbacca like hooded thing, and then a mask. And somebody wore a full-on Darth Vader outfit. Somebody also dressed like a Jedi when I went to the men's room before the movie started. I went with my mom because, well, she likes Star Wars. So do I, obviously. And she saw all these films as she grew up. The first one came out when she was 17, and then, of course, 20 when Empire Strikes Back came out 45 years ago. And then, of course, she saw Return of the Jedi in the theater, and she was actually pregnant with my sister at the time. But, yeah, and so she got to see all these movies on their initial releases, including, of course, the prequels and then the movies made under the ownership of Disney. Whether one considers those, Star Wars, that's another thing. There are all people who don't, people who do, and people who do consider them Star Wars, but not fond of them. Regardless, she got to see all of them on their initial releases. I am seeing the original trilogy backwards because I didn't get to see this film, obviously, 5 years ago when it was out in theaters. Because I did see Inception for its re-release. And that was a cool thing to watch on the big screen. And then I saw Tenet, and then wasn't really able to see Empire Strikes Back because outside of Tenet, there were some other new movies, and so some of the re-releases that they did have showing, interestingly enough, throughout the end of the year, were at night. And, well, to go to that theater, to where all those were being shown, new and old films being re-released, or at least older films, you would have had to have gone at night, and of course it was around the time where nighttime came earlier, and also, of course, stayed longer in the morning. And nighttime seems to be when a lot of dopes drive out and everything. And but interestingly enough, there weren't a lot of fools out on the road at night. And of course, it was, we saw it at 7 o'clock, and that was cool. Yeah, we got there early enough for decent parking near the front of the theater because it's along one of those where there's a bunch of stuff nearby, and so finding parking that's not out front, you have to drive somewhere else and park in probably another uh, business's parking lot, which you know they may or may not be fond of that, depending on the business. But I think, thankfully, that was not an issue. Left early enough to, you know, go and find a decent place. Uh, so all that was good, and the experience was an audience interaction where you're encouraged to like cheer and boo, and like there were some people when Darth Vader first appeared, they booed him because he's the bad guy, and they did the same with the Emperor. But they cheered when Luke and Han and Leia and all those guys appeared. But then, of course, when Boba Fett appeared, that's when people cheered too, because he's a very favorite. He's a fan favorite of the franchise, despite being on screen very little in The Empire Strikes Back and in Return of the Jedi. But you know, but he looks cool and he's a bounty hunter and everything. So that's why people really love him. And people did quote the film at times, and thankfully it was not one of those where the audience interaction got to be annoying, because sometimes that could definitely happen. Thankfully, I have not experienced that at any of these re-releases that I've seen. But I could imagine, and I've also heard stories where, yeah, it was an audience interaction, all, but some people just kept talking and tried to be funny, and it was just terrible experience because a few people, kind of just ruined it, for people. And the theater we saw it was very packed, which was not a surprise, but still, I've seen theaters that have had every seat filled and some with mostly filled. I think there was only a few seats that were not, they did not have people there in them. So that was something that's cool. And saw the film beginning to end. Though, interestingly enough, they did start to play another film, an A24 film. The name escapes me now. They'll probably write it here at the bottom of what the film was. But yeah, it was an A24 film, and they started to play the wrong movie. Thankfully, it was like less than a minute, or at most it was a full minute, but not long. But enough people were making enough noise that they realized what happened, and they fixed it very soon. So, and somebody came out and let people know who hadn't been there, the audience, interaction of what all that entailed and everything. But I kind of guess that's what that was about anyway. I've seen The Room a few times in the theater. The audience interaction, people saying lines and throwing spoons, plastic spoons, and all that. And it's a fun time watching that movie. So yeah, but nobody was throwing anything at the theater screen at this location, which wouldn't have made too much sense. But yeah, I don't know why you would ever throw something when watching Star Wars. I mean, unless you really didn't like Star Wars, but then if that's the case, I don't know why you're paying to go to a screening of a re-release of a Star Wars movie. And next month they're gonna have Return of the Jedi. I don't know if I'll get to go to that one. But that's not listed yet, so yeah, just to really see the day and everything. I knew about this far enough in advance that I could, definitely get that way I could actually go and see it. But yeah, stuff like that kind of just uh, you know, kind of sells out fast, and so yeah, didn't really get a ticket, but print out something to show that yeah, the tickets are bought. But yeah, I I enjoyed it. I'm glad to have been able to see it, and I only have one more movie to see of Star Wars before the whole, to see to then be able to say I've seen every single one in the theater, and that of course is the original Star Wars. Episode 4, A New Hope, as it's been retitled to fit with because Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were released as episodes 5 and 6. Um, George Lucas wanted these films to be given episode numbers to be like a Saturday matinee serial, like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and that kind of stuff. But you know, he was told that he couldn't do that for the original film because this was the very first Star Wars, and there is good logic. Like people would be confused. There is no episodes like 1, 2, and 3 if this is like in the middle somewhere. So makes sense to not label that one, but then label the next film and then next couple, or the next film. And then when they re-released the original film, they did have the episode title. But yeah, so this was a fun time being able to watch this on the big screen. And I was happy that they finally did something for the 45th anniversary. I was hoping they would. And I was kind of wary that after a while they weren't showing it. Like at the kind of the chain theater that had it 5 years ago. Of course, they had Revenge of the Sith for its 20th anniversary. I'm like, they should do something for the 45th anniversary of Empire. I know they showed it 5 years ago, but still, this is a very beloved film in the franchise, so they should definitely do something. But yeah, hopefully 2 years when the original turns 50 years old, they'll re-release the original film. It will probably be the 2019 version with the special editions, or there's not. The special edition was a kind of a marketing gimmick to get people back to see it again with the added, added in scenes and everything, and new effects, added or enhanced effects, whatever you want to call it. That way, the movie fit George Lucas's vision. But yeah, the 2019 one with which was then available on 4K, which I have that. I own that. I don't own the other ones on 4K, unfortunately, though I want to. Though I kind of want to do the Steelbook thing because I got that one. But they're very pricey now because you can only get them like on eBay, and of course people will you can find them brand new, but they're quite expensive because of how rare they are. But yeah, I'm happy I got to see this in the theater. It was fun, and again, the audience interaction was not a terrible time. And interestingly enough, somebody when I went to the bathroom after the movie, because I was drinking quite a bit of Coca-Cola prior to the movie starting, because got there early enough. Somebody actually apparently, this was the very first time they ever saw this movie. Period. So they got to see it in the theater for the very first time, which is kind of cool. Though of course, people are talking and everything. It makes you wonder, how their thought was when it came to the particularly when people were going, "Ugh," when Luke and Leia kiss, because of course they're siblings, and how that was sort of a kind of blown for them because of the reaction everybody had. Unless he happened to know that beforehand. It's very possible he also saw, because I think it was like maybe like a teenager or a young adult who saw this for the first time ever. Maybe he's just getting into Star Wars, or somebody showed him the original ones, or what have you. Maybe he saw Revenge of the Sith or something, so maybe he already knew that. I don't know. Maybe he saw the first two, and then saw the third one in the theater, then saw the episode 4. Now maybe they actually had episode 4 at the theater that I saw. They might have done that last month, but I didn't know about that. Anyway, I don't know, but that's pretty cool that somebody saw this for the very first time in their whole life in a theater. So yeah, even to this day, with movies like this being re-released, people see this for the very first time, and seeing it on the big screen is really cool. And I don't know if you were not alive during the original runs of these movies. Obviously, if you were, there's a good chance you saw this film and the other installments of Star Wars. But if you aren't, and you're like me, you want to see these for the first time in the theater, it's really awesome. But yeah, I enjoyed myself, and everybody did, really. And so, yeah, it was not a bad time at all. It was fun, and that's very important. When you go see a movie, in general, it's fun. But of course, I've seen this before anyway. But this was the first time I saw it in the theater, and the big screen experience was really great. And if anybody watching hasn't seen this on the big screen but might have an opportunity somewhere down the line, I would say go for it. It's really worth it. It's fun. Particularly if you like Star Wars. I don't know if what the experience would be like if you're not really fond of Star Wars, but you went anyway, maybe like as a date, like whoever you're with likes Star Wars, like spouse or significant other, what have you. Or perhaps even just a very good friend. They want to see it. Maybe they don't want to see it alone, so you might go anyway. You're not super fond of it, but hopefully you'd have a good time anyway. If you're not thrilled with the film itself, like, it's all right or what have you. But yeah. Regardless, if you have an opportunity, I would say see it. It's really fun, and yeah. So yeah, that's my experience seeing this on the big screen. It was great. I loved it. But I love this movie anyway. So yeah. If you have any thoughts about this movie at all, if you've seen it on the big screen, either when it came out or some other re-release that you were able to see, you can let me know if you want or not. All up to you, obviously. But yeah, I hope all of you are doing well. Please have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye.